At 03:47 hours on June 22, 2025, a Russian locomotive engineer checking his schedule had no idea that Ukrainian eyes had been watching his fuel train for the past 73 minutes from a concealed position in the tree line. In exactly 94 seconds, 840 tons of diesel fuel would become Ukraine's newest fireworks display, courtesy of $8,000 worth of modified hobby drones that were currently closing the distance at 160 kilometers per hour. The engineer was focused on maintaining the speed limit for this sector of the track, completely unaware that his cargo had been marked for destruction by a team that specializes in turning logistics nightmares into reality. The train was moving through what was supposed to be a secure rear area, far from the front lines where artillery usually falls. But the definition of a safe zone had changed dramatically in the last hour, without anyone in the locomotive cab receiving the memo. As the heavy steel wheels ground against the rails in the darkness, the countdown to a catastrophic failure of structural integrity had already begun, and there was absolutely nothing the crew could do to stop the physics equation that was about to be solved at their expense. 35 kilometers away, Ukrainian operators from the elite Kabul 9 special unit monitor thermal feeds through encrypted Starlink connections that are bouncing signals off satellites in low Earth orbit. Their modified DJI Mavic reconnaissance drones are painting the target with surgical precision, utilizing sensors that turn the night into a clear picture of impending doom. The thermal signature on the screens does not lie because that locomotive's diesel engine glows white-hot at 47 degrees Celsius against the cool morning landscape, while the 12 fuel cars show subtle temperature variations that scream premium target to anyone working with brain cells. This is not some spur-of-the-moment operation that was decided on a whim. Ukrainian Defense Intelligence has been tracking this specific train for 96 hours, using a network of partisan spotters equipped with encrypted smartphones who have been risking their lives to send text messages that coordinate with strike teams. They identified its departure schedule from the Rostov-on fuel depot, its typical speed through this specific sector, and most importantly, the 20-minute window when it would be furthest from Russian air defense coverage, creating a perfect kill box that the Russians had inadvertently driven right into. The math is brutal for Moscow when you sit down and calculate the logistics of modern armored warfare. Each fuel car carries 70 tons of diesel, which is enough to keep a Russian tank battalion operational for 3 full days of high-intensity combat maneuvering. 12 cars times 70 tons equals 840 tons of fuel, which represents roughly 10 days of operations for 3 entire armored battalions that are currently waiting for this delivery. Those 10 days can make all the difference between the Russians breaking through a defensive line or simply sitting around like very expensive lawn ornaments waiting to be targeted by artillery. The strategic value of this single train exceeds the cost of the missiles used to protect it, yet it is being hunted by devices that cost less than a used sedan. The operators in the bunker know that stopping this train does not just destroy fuel, it freezes the tactical options of an entire brigade situated 50 kilometers to the south, proving that logistics is still the grim reaper of military ambition. And here is what makes this strike package even more terrifying for the air defense crews tasked with stopping it. Those are not your standard DJI drones anymore that you can buy at an electronics store. Ukrainian engineers have retrofitted them with experimental firmware, extending digital zoom to 56 times magnification and flight endurance to 45 minutes, allowing them to loiter and stalk their prey. More importantly, they have integrated custom radio frequency hardware with frequency hopping spread spectrum technology that changes frequencies 1,500 times per second across multiple bands. It is like playing electronic whack-a-mole, except the mole cannot be caught because it moves faster than the hammer can swing. And unlike that carnival game, these moles fight back with lethal intent. Each Ukrainian-built FPV quadcopter carries a modified PG-7V L-shaped charge warhead, weighing 2.6 kilograms. That is an 85-millimeter diameter, copper-lined cone that focuses explosive energy into a jet traveling at 35,000 feet per second, which is fast enough to turn 15 millimeters of Russian steel into confetti before the crew even hears the explosion. The warhead was originally designed to penetrate 500 millimeters of rolled homogeneous armor, so using it against a thin-walled fuel car is like using a sledgehammer to crack an egg. The train continues rolling through occupied territory at exactly 45 kilometers per hour, completely unaware that in 47 more seconds, this routine supply run will demonstrate why occupying Ukraine was the worst investment decision since someone bought blockbuster stock in the early 2000s. The train crew believes they are protected by the darkness and the distance from the front, But they fail to realize that the rules of engagement have shifted to favor the small and the agile. The kinetic energy stored in that shaped charge is sitting dormant, waiting for a simple electrical impulse to release a focused stream of superheated metal that will ignore the structural integrity of the tank car, as if it were made of paper. It is a mismatch of engineering where a cheap, smart weapon is about to dismantle a multi-million-dollar logistics asset. At 0348 hours, as the first strike drone enters its terminal approach, something changes the electronic landscape entirely. A Russian Lear. 3 electronic warfare systems suddenly surges to life, its operators finally spotting the electromagnetic signatures they have been trained to hunt for months. The truck-mounted system begins broadcasting jamming signals across a 30-kilometer radius, pumping out enough radio frequency energy to disrupt every civilian cell phone from here to the next village. The Lear 3 is not subtle about its approach to electronic dominance. First comes broadband jamming, which consists of high-power noise transmitted across multiple frequency ranges simultaneously, designed to overwhelm any receiver within its engagement envelope. When that proves ineffective against Ukrainian frequency-hopping technology, the operators switch to spot jamming, focusing intense interference on the specific 2.4 GHz and 5.8 GHz bands that commercial drone systems typically use. It is like your wife first blasting the vacuum cleaner to drown out your music. And when that does not work, she tries to unpair your Bluetooth speaker so you cannot hear a thing. But Ukrainian operators had anticipated this exact scenario and prepared a technological countermove that renders the jamming irrelevant. Their system employs advanced frequency-hopping spread-spectrum technology that laughs at Russian jamming attempts by dancing around the interference. The drones change frequencies 1,500 times per second across 4 separate bands simultaneously, making it nearly impossible for the Lear 3 to lock onto and disrupt the signal before it has already moved to a new channel. The Russian operators intensify their electronic assault, moving beyond simple GPS jamming to GPS spoofing, sending false satellite signals designed to trick the Ukrainian drones into believing they are somewhere over the Pacific Ocean. It is a sophisticated attack that would ground most commercial systems instantly. But these are not standard commercial drones. Inside each Ukrainian attack drone are precision solid-state gyros that detect the discrepancy between GPS data and actual movement patterns. The inertial measurement units do not need satellites to know where they are. They track every change in velocity and direction using the fundamental laws of physics. You can spoof GPS signals all you want, but you cannot lie to Newton's laws of motion. As the lead attack drone approaches its target, it unspools what looks like a fishing line from a canister mounted on its rear. Except this line carries light instead of a lure. The fiber optic cable you see here maintains a perfect digital connection to operators 35 kilometers away, physically tethering the drone to its pilot. Now, the readers understand why Ukrainian operators chose this over radio control for the final run. You can jam airwaves with enough power, but you cannot jam glass. Fiber core measures just 9 microns, which is thinner than a human hair, while maintaining 1.5 gigabit data transmission rates. That is enough bandwidth for uncompressed 1080p video while simultaneously carrying control signals, telemetry data, and GPS corrections without a millisecond of latency. More importantly, it creates zero electromagnetic signature for Russian sensors to detect. The drone appears autonomous on their screens, a robot acting on pre-programmed instructions rather than receiving real-time human guidance, effectively becoming a ghost in the machine. But physics does not give free lunches, and this solution comes with its own set of engineering challenges. Fiber optic cable adds weight and bulk, requiring larger drone frames and more powerful motors to compensate for the drag of the spool. The hard connection between pilot and drone also leaves a physical trail after every flight, a reflective strand that becomes visible as it accumulates on the ground or in trees. Ukrainian operators know they will need to relocate immediately after this mission because that line points directly back to their hiding spot. But that is a small price to pay for guaranteed connectivity in a heavy jamming environment. At 0348, despite maximum power jamming across every frequency band the Lear 3 can generate, the Ukrainian attack drones maintain perfect control. The Russian operators watch their expensive equipment accomplish exactly nothing while the drones approach their fuel train at 160 kilometers per hour. The electronic chess match is over. Physics just checkmated a $5 million electronic warfare system with what amounts to a very long extension cord. At 0349, the first Ukrainian attack drone impacts fuel car number 4 with surgical precision. The 2.6 kilogram PG-7V L-shaped charge does not just explode. It acts as a directed energy weapon, It vaporizes a precisely engineered hole through 15 millimeters of steel at 2,800 degrees Celsius, instantly converting 70 tons of diesel into an expanding fireball that announces to everyone within 20 kilometers that they should stay out of Ukraine's swamp. But here is where things get interesting in the worst possible way for the Russians. When that jet hits the fuel car steel wall, it does not just penetrate. It literally liquefies the metal and pushes it aside like a hot knife through butter. The fuel inside does not have time to leak out slowly. It vaporizes instantly due to the heat and pressure, creating a shockwave that treats the car's structural integrity like a mere suggestion. The explosion rips through car number 4's interior at temperatures exceeding 4,000 degrees Celsius, turning the steel container into a fragmentation grenade the size of a school bus. But the real devastation comes from something Soviet engineers never anticipated when they designed these rail cars decades ago: the interconnected ventilation systems between fuel cars. What was designed for pressure equalization during loading operations now becomes a highway for destruction, allowing the fire to bypass the external walls. Within 20 seconds, burning fuel vapors have traveled through the vents and ignited cars number 3 and number 5, turning 3 separate targets into one massive rolling fire. Russian crew members finally spot the second attack drone approaching car number 8, and panic sets in. Their response is immediate and completely ineffective. They begin firing AK-74 assault rifles, sending 5.45 millimeter rounds at a target moving 160 kilometers per hour and maneuvering in 3 dimensions. It is like trying to shoot a hummingbird with a shotgun while riding a mechanical bull. The small arms fire forces the drone into wild, evasive maneuvering, but the operator maintains control through the chaos, proving that human reflexes combined with digital stabilization are superior to panic fire. Meanwhile, the first drone's shaped charge decides to demonstrate that Ukrainian engineering is not always perfect. Instead of the clean penetration expected, the warhead achieves only partial detonation, leaving car number 4 ruptured but not completely destroyed. The operator, watching through crystal-clear fiber optic video, makes a split-second decision that is equal parts brilliant and insane. He guides the drone's burning wreckage directly into the spilled fuel, using the lithium-ion battery of the drone itself as an incendiary device to complete the job. Then physics intervenes in ways nobody anticipated. The massive fire creates its own weather system, characterized by thermal convection currents that generate updrafts and downdrafts with wind speeds exceeding 60 kilometers per hour. The third attack drone approaching car number 11 suddenly finds itself fighting hurricane-force winds generated by its own mission success. But the problems compound when the second drone's fiber optic cable snags on a railway signal post, limiting its maneuverability to a 30-meter radius. The operator now faces an impossible choice: abort the attack and waste months of preparation, or attempt a precision strike while tethered like a flying yo-yo. He chooses the latter. The locomotive engineer applies emergency brakes, but 840 tons of rolling mass does not stop on command, and normal stopping distances do not account for multiple fuel cars burning at temperatures that can melt copper. The stationary train just became an easier target in terms of speed, but the environment has become a nightmare. As car number 4 transforms into a fireball, the massive blaze creates convection patterns that turn the remaining attack runs into aerial knife fights against the air itself. The second drone operator fights cable tension, wind shear, and small arms fire while lining up his shot on car number 8. In 33 seconds, he will discover that sometimes the hardest part of precision warfare is not hitting your target. It is hitting it while everything else is literally on fire. At 0350, the third drone pilot fights convection currents rising from the burning fuel cars. Wind shear from the thermal column throws his approach off by 15 meters, forcing a desperate course correction as small arms tracers streak past his camera feed like angry fireflies. But the fire does not just create wind, it creates something else entirely that complicates the targeting solution. Massive fire smoke particles scatter laser designators and degrade visual targeting, while the heat shimmer throws off infrared sensors, making the train look like a mirage. The operator finds himself flying essentially blind, navigating by thermal signature alone through a self-generated hurricane of superheated gases. Meanwhile, the fourth drone operator faces a different nightmare: battery degradation. His quadcopter shows 18% power remaining with 90 seconds to target. Ukrainian engineers optimize these drones for endurance, but fighting wind resistance from thermal updrafts drains batteries faster than anyone calculated in the lab. He has one chance to reach the locomotive, or his drone will fall harmlessly into the countryside, becoming nothing more than expensive litter. The second drone, still fighting the snagged fiber optic cable, approaches car number 8 like a tethered falcon diving for prey. The cable tension affects thermal velocity calculations, but the operator compensates with pure flying skill. At a closure rate of 60 meters per second, he has exactly 1.3 seconds to adjust the cable drag before impact. The simultaneous strikes come moments later, sealing the fate of the convoy. Drone number 2 slams into car number 8, while drone number 3 targets car number 11. Their shaped charges detonating within milliseconds of each other. The overlapping blast zones create constructive interference, pressure waves that amplify rather than cancel, turning two separate explosions into one sustained detonation that shakes the ground for kilometers. However, the real devastation lies in what happens next to the steel itself. The sustained fires, now approaching 1,200 degrees Celsius, begin affecting the railway infrastructure. Steel rails designed for 60-ton locomotives start warping under thermal stress that exceeds their engineering specifications by 300%. What was once precision transportation infrastructure becomes twisted metal sculptures that would be perfect for a modern art museum but are useless for moving military supplies. The fourth drone, running with 8% battery remaining, executes the mission's final strike against the locomotive engine itself. The operator has no margin for error. Miss this shot, and a $2.4 million piece of rolling stock survives to haul more fuel tomorrow. The PG-7 VL-shaped charge punches through the engine block with mathematical precision, ensuring that even if some fuel cars survive, this train will never roll again. The economics tell an even better story than the explosion. $8,000 in modified commercial drones versus $2.4 million in destroyed rolling stock, plus 840 tons of fuel worth over $600,000, plus 3 weeks of supply disruption affecting 3 armored battalions. Not even the best Wall Street hedge funds could get you a 30,000% return on investment like that.